Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Irons United. Tonight, we are discussing Arsenal. Arsenal, West Ham, live Saturday, 3 p.m. It's not very often you get a 3 p.m. kickoff these days, still, is it? Especially on a Saturday afternoon.
Especially on a Saturday afternoon, and especially a London derby as well. So
Yeah,
looking forward to it, to be honest with you. Yeah, a
absolutely. You can probably
rare
tell I'm
treat.
absolutely. You can probably tell I'm in some different surroundings. I feel like I've been stuck under the cupboard, which I actually have been. I'm ready to sort out my new lighting. Don't worry, that's all coming in due course. But yeah, I've been kicked underneath the stairs, so apologies for the tight squeeze. Anyway, still, Arsenal away potentially got their own problems as much as maybe West Ham. What do you think of Arsenal, even more so under Arteta?
Well, their problems are nowhere near as bad as ours, are they? I mean, if you're languishing in mid-table, and you think you've got problems, then you ought to be a West Ham fan, I guess. Where we're battling with relegation, it's going to take time for anyone to take over Arsenal and do what Arsene Wenger did with them. I don't think they're ever going to see the likes of that for no, I don't think they'll see the likes of that for some time to come. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get on over the next couple of seasons, and whether Arteta is the right manager for them. But it's a brave move for Arsenal. He's had one or two successes, hasn't he? So,
Well, it doesn't
you know,
really, it's funny, like, as much as Arsenal come across with problems after Wenger's left, they've never really lost that um, attacking appeal. They've always got that, whether it's one or two players who can offer that special um, va-va-voom, you could say, from the days of Thierry Henry.
yeah.
And in particular, Aubameyang. I mean, he does look like the real deal. I mean, it's funny, though. I think a lot of Arsenal players um, say that he's actually not the hardest of working strikers, but do you know
I
what?
wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having a non-hard working striker who scores, you know,
17 goals.
17 goals a season, mate. Why have a hard working striker who scores five rather than a non-hard working striker that scores three times that?
Absolutely.
You know.
And I suppose if you start to look down the Arsenal the goal scoring stats, I mean, it goes from Aubameyang to 17 to Lacazette with 6. So you can see that their problem comes with, I suppose, the team game aspect. There's such a lot reliant on Aubameyang. Where would Arsenal be? They're sitting in 10th place, 8 points from a Champions League spot, albeit with a game in hand on
Yeah.
Chelsea. So a victory against West Ham could bring them within 5 points and get a bit of momentum. Arteta's going for his third win, or is it his fourth win in a row?
You've got the stats there, mate.
Yeah, I'm trying to find them. Actually, I've written them down. I can't even find them. But either way, he's going for the last 5 games. He is going for his third win in a row. But albeit that I'm talking about players, the gap between Aubameyang and Lacazette, you do have Lacazette that sits on the bench, and in recent games you've got Aubameyang, Ozil, and Pepe sitting in behind this new young lad in Kishia, who's scored 2 goals in the Premier League.
He looks.
So
I
the
saw.
attacking prowess of Arsenal.
I saw his first goal a couple of weeks back, and the way he took it. I can't remember the name of the player that crossed it to him. Another youngster, I think Saka or something like that. And the way he took his goal was excellent. Good evening, Alfred.
Good evening. How are you, boys?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, he looks like. I mean, to keep Lacazette out the team, he's got to be pretty decent, and he looked good. And they've got. I think they're a little bit like West Ham, I guess. They've got a lot of good attacking players. They can turn it on. And they're going to be a massive test for us. It's interesting when Arteta took over Arsenal in his first game against us, and we kind of gifted them a really easy win. And yet their strikers weren't really on form that night. I think it was more us giving the game away rather than them, really attacking us. But I think we're going to see he's sort of started to get them to gel. And, it's interesting that Ozil's back. It's interesting that Lacazette's sitting on the bench. But they've got options. But then so have we. And I know we'll talk about that in a minute.
Alf, we're talking about, obviously, Arsenal's particular forward line and their setup there. They've got a player in Pepe. I think he was, 40-odd, 50-odd million pounds. They brought him in for, and I think he had a slow start to the season, although coming in through the season, he's got 6 goals, 6 assists. What is it about Arteta and Arsenal, and in recent games in particular, apart from the Europa League, they've been knocked out, they're through to the next round of the FA Cup. What is it about them that West Ham should fear in particular?
Well, I think that they're still struggling defensively as well, and I think Arteta still hasn't got to grips with that yet. But I think it's their, it is their midfield and it's their attacking lineup. And from a coaching point of view, I just like the way Arteta has actually addressed Arsenal, because they're all at sea, really, behind the scenes, and they had been for a long, long time. And this kind of really started years ago under Wenger. But he's gone in there with a bit of Pep Guardiola, mentoring behind him. And he's basically told all those players, look, if you don't show it to me, on the training field, or, certainly in the games, we're going to leave you out. You will be dropped. So I think he's gone in there as a bit of a taskmaster, and he's gone in there and said, right, you have to start performing and playing. And I also think that some of those players are also putting themselves in the shop window for the summer. I don't know if you've already said this, but I think the likes of, there are rumours. I mean, so I've been told. I don't know how widely known this is, but the likes of Aubameyang and Lacazette are potentially looking at moves in the summer as well. Mm-hmm. So whether they're going to try and up their game because it's playing for Arsenal, or whether because they want to actually try and up their game so they can get a move in the summer, who knows? The fact of the matter is that we've got to be careful. We've got to be careful with that forward lineup where they are. They're still not firing on 100%, but they are doing better under Arteta. And I think he's had such a big problem to deal with, not only in the squad in terms of attitudes and discipline, but also his defence. They're screaming out for a rebuild of their defence, and he can only do that in the summer. So
and the irony there, Alf, is that's very much like what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm not saying we're in their league right now, but I think, if we, just like any team, we can put them under pressure. That, unlike a Liverpool or a Man City, there are lots of cracks to, bed yourself in there and, start creating a few chasms there, I think, especially in their defence.
Yeah,
you talk about their defence in particular, and I suppose we can talk about some of the Arsenal players that are going to be missing for the game on Saturday. They're missing 4 key players that have obviously been performing in recent weeks. So Torreira, Soares, Kolasinac and Chambers are all going to be missing. I suppose the positive news for Arsenal is that Kieran Tierney is looking like he's going to be fit and back for the game in particular. The
thing is, if you ask an Arsenal fan, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know many Arsenal fans, so I couldn't really ask any. But if you asked an Arsenal fan, I bet you, most of them would say, please, whatever you do, start Martinelli. They want them to start that lad because he shows he's got a bit of fire in his belly. And for us, we hope that they play an off-form Ozil. That's what we want.
The only thing
to have a bad game.
The only thing with Ozil is he's got a tendency to play reasonably well against us. He has done in the past, and this is the sort of game that could get Ozil cracking again. I agree with you. There are a lot of similarities between us and Arsenal, apart from the league position, in terms of needing to rebuild at the back, playing players who want to play. We'll get onto our team in a minute, but as you've just said, Martinelli is definitely a player that is chomping at the bit in a way.
Yeah.
He's he's very into wanting to be on that pitch, and I guess we've got one or two players like that, and then we've got one or two players that don't, a bit like Ozil, who might turn it on, might not, depends on what he had for breakfast and stuff like that. So I agree
So
with you there, Alf.
let's look at the comparable stats for this season. Arsenal sit 10th to West Ham 16th. Arsenal have won 8 to West Ham 7. They've drew 13 to West Ham 6. They've lost 6 to West Ham's 15. These are the interesting stats that I quite like to look at. Is that the average goals per game is just under 1.5 goals per game. So I think that even though Aubameyang has scored 17 goals, I believe a lot of those goals have come in individual performances, maybe the odd hat trick here, there, and everywhere. To West Ham's 1.25 goals per game. And on average, they concede just under 1.5 goals per game in comparison to West Ham's 1.75 per game. The way you could look at it, just under 2. So there's weak points there between both sides. You can tell that their defence is definitely their weakest point, and in particular, which probably brings us on nicely to West Ham after the performance against Southampton, with a bit of promise on our attacking end. Still. What do you think in terms of that? I mean, there's no fresh injury worries at West Ham.
No,
rumours talking about the Yarmolenko's back fit.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I mean, that's he'd be an interesting prospect to have on the bench. Just he can change the way we play. I know a lot of people will say, well, he's a bit too slow, etc. But he brings something slightly different to the game, which is a good thing to have. But I agree with you. I think their defence can be got at, and I think if we do what we did against Liverpool to a certain extent, and certainly against Southampton, we can get at their back line, because the one thing I noticed certainly on Saturday against Southampton is we finally had a bit of pace. It was really good to see, and it wasn't just pace of Antonio running at the ball. We had Bowen on the other side as well, and you kind of saw a really different attack line. Fornal's so assured, you just wonder where he's been for the last half a dozen games or so, and what Moyes didn't see in him that everybody else was beginning to see. And he not that he's got pace, but he's clever. And he made 2 of the goals on Saturday. So we can get at them. We can get at Arsenal. There's absolutely no reason why we can't. What we really have to do is we have to make sure that we stay sharp in defence. And as we all know, lads, we can't defend for toffee. So there's going to be goals in it, but we're going to have to score more, yet again, in order to be assured of getting anything from this game. So I think we can get at them. I think their defence. You're right. They're weak in defence. Absolutely.
Alf, before we carry on, make sure if you are watching the channel, you are subscribing. Get your comments in below. Let us know your thoughts on what we're saying. All things Arsenal, all things West Ham. We will come on to team predictions. We will come on to our predictions of the score soon. So make sure you start to get them in the comments. We'll try and address some of the comments near the end of the show.
And if you forgive me, I'm replying to comments on Facebook. So whilst we see comments from YouTube here, we've got comments coming in from Facebook as well. So if I keep looking down, it's because I'm trying to reply to those. And thank you all for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Alf, are we going out live to Facebook tonight still?
We're going out live to YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I didn't tell you that because you would have told me not to.
Alf, with relation to Arsenal dropping out of the Europa League, will that have any effect on them, and will that have a positive effect on West Ham? Is that something they'll look at and think, well, we can get at these players, they'll be down, or is that going to have the opposite effect, bounce back?
Yeah, well, I think they will. I think Arsenal will be like a bit of a wounded lion, really. They're coming out of Europe. They wanted to pin their hopes on that, to go far in there, or even potentially go to the final and win that. That's very similar to Man United in that regard, because there's no guarantee of them getting in top 4, or it will be top 5 now, won't it? So they're there will be a danger. There's no doubt. But I think if any of these top sides are vulnerable, Spurs and Arsenal are the 2 that you would think that they could be got at.
So let's have a look in relation to that. Then let's have a look at the 3 forwards that West Ham played, or the 3 particular players who scored against Southampton, and how they could get at Arsenal: Bowen, Haller, and Antonio. I mean, do you think that can cause their defence problems, Alf?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because it's what we've got there is the ability for Haller to address the ball and flick it on or knock it on, headers as he was doing for most of the game. And then you've got fast pace of Bowen and Antonio running towards and off Haller to actually, getting on goal. As I said in my, video the other night, it was basically saying, well, keep those three and then just have somebody creative behind who can, slot balls through, make things happen. And whether we go that route or whether we play the odd long ball here or there to Haller to nod down, and then if somebody's next to him, like Bowen or Antonio, I think we could get at them, but it's got to be at pace. This is the thing; we've got to attack them at pace, and once we do that, I think they're vulnerable. So for me, absolutely, we've got to go at them, with a full strength attack.
Still, you couldn't help but think that when you were watching the game on Saturday, that exactly what Alf said, that they thought we can penetrate these defences. And with Haller being supported, I mean, he even attempted a Rabona. And in actual fact, it went on for Antonio and unfortunately didn't get the relevant opportunity or score from it. But the point of the matter was that he could try something new and he always knew that players were in front of him. On top of that, and adding to that, Bowen's darting crossover runs, which is what I mean, as fans we're fed up with the static approach up top. It didn't have a sense of feel of staticness,
No, absolutely not. And I've been saying it for most of the season. If you play Haller in a different formation, you're going to see a totally different Haller. And I think we did on Saturday. I think we saw a confident Sebastian Haller. He knew he had the support he needed in order. I mean, the only other games that he's played well this season is when he's had support up front. And on Saturday, not only did he have Antonio, he must have been salivating. He had Antonio, Fornals and Bowen supporting him. And I think he had a good game. People call him lazy. Yet again, I don't care how lazy a player is. If he scores, he can be as lazy as he wants. And that's what it
is. Though, still, in relation to that comment in particular, he certainly wasn't lazy for his goal.
No, he made his own goal.
Opposite. Yeah.
He made his own goal, and I think he was a bit of a revelation on Saturday. And that's what I want Moyes to forget the fact that we're playing away on Saturday. Of course, you got to defend and all that, but I want to see Haller being supported. If it is Haller that's going to be picked, I want to see him being supported up front again, because I think we'll cause them problems. And Bowen, I mean, what a clever little player he is. The way he does do those darting runs across, and he will get sussed out eventually, and he's going to have to change his game accordingly. But the cleverness of doing it and almost scoring against Liverpool, and definitely scoring scoring in his home debut, and the way he did it, brilliant.
Yeah. Saturday, obviously we travel away to the game. I mean, what do you think to Arsenal? What do you think is going through Moyes' head, Alf? Do you think that Moyes is going to set up? It's funny, we've been calling out for Haller to be supported after that Bournemouth game. That Bournemouth game, since Moyes came in, he was supported. Okay, we came up against not the greatest of opposition, although Bournemouth on the day are a good team. And straight after that game, things changed. Fornals was dropped. Haller wasn't supported up top. He was dropped out of the team. Then we saw a little change of things coming into the Liverpool game. We obviously saw the change in the Southampton game. I don't think we personally can afford to make too many more changes again throughout this season. Where do you think Moyes is going to be at, in particular, lining up, the away from home, North versus East, London derby?
Yeah, my fear is that he'll go a bit defensive on this, and he
I hope not.
Well, no, Well, I hope not too. I mean, my feelings are perfectly clear on that one, I suppose. But I've just got a feeling that he's going to drop one of the front three there. I've got a feeling he may drop Haller and just leave Antonio up there by himself. Drop Bowen to the right hand side or something like that. Pack out the midfield and just go, a little bit on the defensive side. And go for more of a counter attack. and use Bowen and Antonio's pace on the counter attack, as opposed to having Haller, who's not that mobile, even though he did a fair bit of running against Southampton. I've just got a feel. I think that's the wrong way to go, personally. I mean, but the counter argument to that is that if we are going full attack, then we are so poor defensively, and defensive midfield will be our only protection, really. So we might be vulnerable to a good Arsenal performance, because I'm assuming that they can turn it on. Because if they can't turn it on, then we've got nothing to fear.
I'm almost afraid to ask this. Sorry, mate, go on.
Let's look at a particular player that didn't start against Southampton but came on, was Snodgrass. He's got 5 goals, 5 assists, and potentially harshly dropped for the game against Southampton. But could that be a player that, if you think about that, you add Snoddy to that equation with the deliveries of his balls. I think probably a nice way of putting that. But
I think it's the old saying of don't change your winning team, and I would like to think he would do against Arsenal what he did at Southampton, but I'd be inclined to agree with Alf that he might drop one of the front 4 players. But here's the thing: if you drop Haller, you kind of lose that pivot point at the front of that diamond 4, and it kind of takes away from your attacking play. And if he was to do that, and he'll put maybe Antonio in that position, then he's going to have to pick someone else in midfield. And there's probably one of 2 obvious options, and I hate to even think the second option in my mind, but the first option could be someone like Anderson.
Let it go.
I know, I'm trying, but I think if he did that, he would actually lose what we had in attack on Saturday, because the players around Haller knew he was there, so their pace either side was causing the Southampton defence problems, and they still had to worry about Haller in the middle, and they had to worry about Fornals just behind. So they were kind of like, well, who are we going to mark and who are we going to pick out? Oh, that player's running off. How are we going to handle this? If you took Haller out of the equation, kind of makes it a little bit easier for their defence to handle. But I agree. But Snodgrass, it could be Snodgrass. Actually, 3, isn't it? Anderson, Snodgrass, and the M word. And I've got a feeling Alf's right. I like to think not, Alf. But if he did, he'd end up playing 5 at the back.
Yeah, and I think he will, actually. I think that's my thinking. I think he will. I think if we were playing Arsenal at home, I think we'd see the same lineup as Southampton.
So would you think he'd pick Masuaku to play a wing back, and Ngakia a wing back on the other side?
I think he might, because Creswell didn't have the best of games, and he's been a bit vulnerable on that left hand side by players running past him. But then again, Ngakia had, especially in the first half, he had quite a few times when players were running past him as well. So,
but as you said yourself, though, Alf, in your video, you mentioned that even though he did that, he still tracked back and done it.
Oh yeah. No, all I'm saying is that better players would exploit it a little bit more, perhaps. And but with Creswell, he did get found out a few times.
He did, and I've got that same fear, Alf. I've got the same fear that he's going to revert to type, and it will completely disrupt the whole team, because he won't play.
The only positive to take from that, though, from what we're seeing, is if you think about his lineup against Liverpool away was quite an attacking-ish.
It was an attacking-ish side with only 2 up front. Well, no, I rephrase. It was an attacking-ish side with, excuse me, lads.
Carry on, we can still hear you.
Okay, it was an attacking-ish side with Anderson and Antonio. That was the thing. That was the confusion about it. So it wasn't that much of an attacking side, really, was it? So, and we kind of did better than we thought we would do against Liverpool. But a proper attacking. I mean, I was surprised that he played virtually 4 up front on Saturday. But I agree. I think if he ends up playing If he ends up picking Masuaku, he's not going to put him in midfield. He's not going to play a 4-4-2 or anything like that. He's going to revert to type and he's going to play a 5-3-2 or whatever. And I think that's going to change the whole complexion of our game plan. And I know it's away, but you got to look at these games. You got to, just like we talked about Liverpool and Man City. We really had nothing to lose, and we got nothing to lose against Arsenal, against Tottenham, against Chelsea that are coming up. We just got to go for it. We got to try and get something out of the game, and I'd be even happy with a draw, but we won't get a draw if he plays all too defensive, because as we've said, we can't defend for our lives.
Yeah.
That brings us on nicely to team selections. Get your comments in. Let us know who your top or starting 11 will be against Arsenal on Saturday. We're about to go through our kind of starting 11. We'll try and do this quickly. We'll get on to the predictions and then we'll get into some of the comments. But get your predictions in of what you think the starting 11 will be. But I believe we are all in agreement that Fabianski will be obviously in goal. There's no point in talking about that.
Absolutely.
And
yep.
It looks like, are we going with a back four? I mean, what are we doing this in two approaches? Are we doing what we think Moyes is going to do? Or are we doing this in what we want? Because funny enough, if I'm listening to you guys, I've got a funny feeling I feel different potentially to both of you. It's like, here we go. I'll put it out there. I think he is going to potentially line up exactly the same way he did against Southampton. And I don't know if that's me getting
carried away,
carried away, but momentum is key.
Yeah, I
hope he does. I just don't think he will. I could be wrong. I usually am, but
I agree with Alf. I think he's going to make one change, one unforced change, and that unforced change, he will not be as brave, and he will take one of the four attacking players out of the firing line. But which one? Would that be then? I don't. You know what? He could end up dropping Bowen again. Antonio's got the pace. Fornals did well. We created two. He might think I want to keep Haller as a pivot point, and he could drop Bowen, and he will bring in. Go on.
And when you take into consideration West Ham's victory against Southampton, we all left feeling buzzing. We still are kind of buzzing after that victory. The only thing that took a little knock for us, the fact that Liverpool took the game to Liverpool. Watford took the game to Liverpool
and beat them,
and pretty much destroyed them 3-0.
Yeah, but Liverpool looked poor that night.
Well, but at the end of the day, though, they still took the game and went toe to toe with Liverpool and never really pressured them in the defence and constantly pressured them in the defence. And it was a little bit like they kept saying, put the pressure on that defence because that defence will cave. They cannot do this whole season.
Absolutely.
They don't have the backup of, like, if you think about the Invincible with Arsenal, the Vieiras and all the backup players they had in the middle of the field. They didn't have that protection there. So West Ham are now back in that stage where we need points on the table. You've looked to the bottom part of that league and you think, I think there's 4 teams on 20, I don't know what the points are.
27.
And then there's like 6 or 7 teams within about 3 points of each other.
Yeah.
We need to get points on the table and going defensively at Arsenal, even with a defence, not a great defence they have, is going to cause us.
Yeah, you're preaching to the converted. We all think the same. We all think he should keep the same lineup. So there's absolutely no reason to change it. But I'm with Alf. I think it's quite possible that he will. And if he does change it, I think he's going to take possibly Bowen out of the team and bench him and start with. Well, it won't be. Snodgrass. I'll go with possibly Snodgrass as the replacement because Snodgrass will be a little bit more defensive. That's what I think he'll probably do. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but that's what I think he could do.
Okay, now it's maybe on to the time of exciting predictions. Alf disappeared for a little while. Maybe he's gone for the rest of the show, so we'll leave it to yourself and myself still. The famous predictions. You have to get your predictions in. We will have a brief look over some of the comments. I don't know how many people are in the chat. It looks like it's quite a busy chat.
We'll go through them in a minute, mate. I think it'd be good
we'll go through as many as we can.
Yeah.
But over to you, Stel. We know you're going to the Emirates Stadium on Saturday. So just to keep you updated, we will be trying to do some live link-ups to the stadium with Stel if he has a reception and if he's not drank 45 double rums in the space of a few hours. So
that weren't my fault. I blame other people for that. I don't normally drink. I don't normally drink at games.
Yeah. So,
prediction. I'm going all out. I'm gonna say we're gonna win. I'm gonna say we're gonna win 2-1.
So with that laugh out, this goes over to you. You nearly had to sing a song this week. That close. You were that close, Alf.
What do you mean? I predicted it right. I predicted that we would win.
Yeah, no, I know, but I predicted 3-2, and you laughed at the 3-2 prediction. And it was 3-1.
And what was the score?
One goal away from making you laugh. Sing.
What was the score?
3-1.
3-1. And what did I predict?
You did predict 3-1, but I never anything.
I don't know. I might have done. I don't know. I can't remember.
Right, go for it. What's your prediction, Alf?
Well, no, I'm laughing because Stel. I'm going to say 2-1 as well. I agree with Stel. Yeah, yeah. It's a mutual appreciation society tonight. You know.
It is it? It is. But don't worry. Anton's going to ruin it. Go on. Yeah. What's your prediction?
Are you ready for this?
Here we go. 4-2. Go on.
4-2. Yeah.
4-2 West Ham. Go on, Anton. Get in there, son.
Here we go.
3-1 West Ham.
Oh.
3-1. You are. I mean, we're deluded, but you're really deluded, mate. You really.
Listen. I will always give you fans who watch this channel an outside opportunity, a good bet, a good chance to go to the bookies if you need to, get some great odds on a victory. I've predicted a couple of decent ones that give you better odds if you just stick a couple of quid on here, there and everywhere. 3-1 West Ham, away from home, in the London Derby. Mark Noble with a brace.
Okay.
Mark Noble with a brace.
Okay. This is what everybody needs to understand. Never, ever listen to Anton.
Exactly.
Ever.
Absolutely right.
Save your money, put it in your wallet, take it out with you, go and buy a couple of drinks.
Go and buy me some double rums. Not that I drink, though.
No, neither do I.
Listen, can we go over to the comments still?
We can, but they're kind of disappearing. I think that's because we've got so many that I'm gone up to the top, and it's quite a few gone. So my apologies for that.
We don't have time to do them all, unfortunately. So if you just glance through the.
Let's have a few. Neil, sorry about that, Neil. Let's have a look here. D Lee, 2-2. As long as we don't swap Snoddy for Jim. Yeah, I would agree with that. If we keep the same team.
I've just realised.
Jim Bowen.
2-2. Nothing in this game for 2 in a bed.
Now, there's one player that I've actually put in the title and we haven't talked about, and that was Anderson. So let's explain that, and our apologies for not having picked this up earlier. Bowen, when he came to West Ham, was benched for a couple of games, despite the fact that we were all crying out for him to start, and Moyes kept saying he's probably not ready. We shouldn't be putting too much reliance on a championship player that we bought, etc., etc. And he was benching him, and I think we were all really shocked on Saturday that Bowen actually started. I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. And we're just wondering, now that Anderson is back, Anderson played against Liverpool, and a lot of people say he didn't have a very good game, but he was dangerous. That's why we were dangerous at Liverpool, because he was an outlet. And then he was dropped. And so, the reason for the title is Anderson going to go through the same treatment as Bowen is? Will he end up being benched more often than he should be? But what's interesting now is we've got a selection of players. Moyes has got at his disposal a selection of players to choose from, so he can mix and match it. But my personal feeling is that Anderson should be playing, but who for? That's the thing. There's quite a lot of option at the moment. So, a
bit like what you said, though, Stel, like, why change a winning team? So I think I was disappointed not to see Anderson start against Southampton, although it worked, and I would like to have saw him brought on earlier, especially when Mark Noble was screaming to come off with his injury. I thought it'd been a nice opportunity to see another attacking threat. But I think we'll probably see him against Arsenal. I just don't think he'll start.
Yeah.
He may not start, yeah. NWO Police, nope. Good evening. Steamroll the defence with Antonio. Well, if he stays fit, he's going to steamroll every defence between now and the end of the season, I think. Good evening, Jazz. 2-2. Pessimist, mate. You haven't had enough rums.
Not enough positivity out there. Not enough positivity.
Hammerwell, good evening, mate. Oh, God, they're talking about the coronavirus and telling everyone how to get over it.
Yeah. Don't worry about Corona. Just start drinking Budweiser. That's what I say.
Kev, good evening, Kev. Thanks for joining us on Facebook. We're staying up. I think if we carry on playing the way we did against in the last 2 games, then definitely no reason why we shouldn't.
If Moyes has the balls, we will.
Exactly. Good evening, Mick.
If he plays offensive, plays attacking, and goes at teams. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, Mick. Thanks. Nice to see you at the Supporters Club on Saturday. Spurs and Arsenal have not been this week in a few years. Don't really care about them so long as we beat both of them. But you're absolutely right. Now, this is an in-joke. Whoever's watching that might be aware of this, make sure Paul wears the right shoes. A couple of seasons ago, we went to the game. One of our mates, Paul, wore a pair of shoes that basically crushed him. Couldn't walk after the game. So there you go, a little inside joke. We have a guest Gooner. Yeah. Hello, guest Gooner. Hope you're enjoying the show. Did you see the squirts incident? Deer on the pit. Yeah, we don't really give a shit about Tottenham, so I don't care about that. My apologies, Hammerwell. Let's run through these.
I've got to say, as a football fan, but also as a West Ham fan, obviously. I'm not a Dunfermline fan, no, you were accused of that, weren't you?
Kilmarnock.
Was it Kilmarnock?
Kilmarnock. And he admitted on Saturday that he lives right next door to the stadium.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm sure other people out there are more worldly football aware, but I just don't really pay that much attention to other football teams.
I don't. Yeah, maybe I should, but I don't.
Yeah, it's just too much. West Ham is too much, really. There's so much with our own team. I just can't be doing it with anything else.
Teapot Pixie 3-2 to West Ham. Close game, could go either way. There will be goals. Absolutely, there will be. Good evening, Neil, or good morning, Neil. Whatever time it is down there. He was the Haller we expected last week. Totally agree. I've been saying it all season. So
Yeah, he was all right.
He was all right. Yeah. Desjardins, Le Talek. You'll achieve nothing playing defensive with this team. Absolutely agree. Totally agree.
I agree.
NWO again. Moyes is not the right man. Yeah. There's a lot of us that still, we're still not sure about Moyes, aren't we?
As long as he chooses the right team, the right formation.
Yeah.
Look, we'll soon find out at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
The jury has got to be out on Moyes. If he keeps us up, that's when we judge him next season. That's when he can get his own players in and say, okay, then he can prove himself. Right now, ever since he's taken over,
I honestly don't think he'll be here next season, though.
Sorry?
I honestly don't think he'll be here next season.
I think if he keeps us up, they'll honour it if he keeps us up.
If he keeps us up, yeah, I think he will.
Neil, if we play the same team and play the same way last couple of weeks, we have a chance, come away with something.
And anybody watching
totally
this,
agree.
Go put your bets on the bookies now, because Moyes lover right down there thinks that'll be on his heels, and us Moyes haters will think he'll still be at the club. Actually, I'm not a Moyes hater at all. I just,
Moyes has only got it near right in the last 2 games. I totally agree, and he got lucky with the Bournemouth game.
Yeah.
Now, here's an interesting comment. McMessy instead of Noble. Good evening, Danny. We talked about this before.
Yes. Yes. I think he could do a job in the centre, and I still think that Noble needs to be, rested for a few games, and I think Snorri could do it. Yes.
Yeah, agreed.
Scottish Messi, absolutely right.
Neil, Moyes is doing much better since Nolan and Irvin have come in. Well, go on. I know you're going to say it. Go on.
Kevin bloody Nolan. If you watched the game on Saturday, he completely controlled the touchline. He completely controlled the substitutions. He completely controlled the players. Kevin Nolan genuinely, in my opinion, looked like he was in charge on Saturday.
Yep,
Yeah,
agreed.
I can't hear a word you're saying, Ant. I really can't. I don't know what you're saying. You were saying something about fairies or something. I don't know.
Danny says, Haller, Antonio and Bowen need to start. What about Fornals? I mean, clearly.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Clearly. Yes, Mick, I have, and you must have missed it. I won't mention his name twice. Yeah, let's not. Where are we?
I'm going to die, so I'm going to love and leave you and let you carry on to the end.
Okay, well, we're near the end now. Arsenal there for the taking. We need a point. So I think that's it. Thank you all for watching. Go on, do your spiel, Anton.
Before we go, can you take that comment off still? That'd be nice because I can see myself then.
Well, we'd rather keep it like that, mate.
Remember to subscribe. Click the bell next to the subscribe. Tell all your friends. Come over to Irons United. Subscribe.
I can't believe he came online without charging his phone.
Hey, remember this. Remember, subscribe. Right? You've been told now. Subscribe.
Let me tell you something. On Saturday, before the game, our good friend up there, Relevator Alf, will be going live before the game to announce the team news live on camera.
He didn't know that. You just told him that.
Am I?
Exactly.
He told you that?
I'm going to try and join him.
I'm in Tenerife. I'm not.
Still be drowning sorrows inside some rum.
If Jeremy, if Masuaku plays, I will stay in the pub. So there you go.
No, that's right. I will be live before the game on Saturday for a team announcement. It'll be a quick 10-15 minute show, something like that. We'll try and get a live link up with you, Stal, at the ground.
Yeah.
And anybody else. That's it. And then we'll be after the game afterwards, just for a quick chat and a roundup when we win gloriously 2-1.
3-1? 3-1 was it? Okay. 2-1 West Ham.
Anyway, I said, subscribe down there. Tell all your friends. Come over to Irons United.
And tell us on Facebook what it was like, because, it's quite difficult to sort of gauge this. And if it's been successful on Facebook, please leave comments on Facebook as well. So, but interestingly, the messages have been coming up on here on Facebook tonight as well. So there you go.
If you are on Facebook, we need you to do us a favour. We need you to jump across to the YouTube channel, hit subscribe on the channel. And if you have not done that and you can't do it, it means you need to log in. You need to log in with an email account. Just hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and when the video is loaded, put your comments in and we can reply to your comments after, because all the live comments disappear. So get them in.
Hold on a minute. Why do they have to log in with a female account? Why not a male account?
Right, that's it.
He's been Alf. He's been Stel.
And he's been some random bloke from Kilmarnock.
Come on, you Irish.
Up Dunfermline. Up the Hammers.